Acknowledge me.
You just made the list.
Down under the mat, back for another draft. It's been a while since we've done a draft, boys. We're bringing them back because of, a lot of demand.
And it's WrestleMania season.
It is
It's a bit of a hint
season.
on what we're doing.
So it's a good time to bring the draft back. And you've already mentioned it. It's going to be WrestleMania. We are drafting the best matches
WrestleMania matches.
from WrestleMania.
This could be a controversial list.
It will absolutely not be a controversial list because they're a very obvious choice.
Well, I was going to say, I think this is going to be a very hard list because I think a lot of us are going to have very similar choices.
Yeah, and that's a problem with us all being similar ages,
make
growing
sure
up in
I've
the
got
same
the-
periods as well. Like, we all rate all the matches.
Yeah, I mean,
There's going to be a lot of double up. It's going to be...
there's an era of matches I
Yeah.
think we're all going to be picking from
Oh, yeah.
before that
obviously.
end of an era happened.
Under these lights, we may be taking our time
That is true.
with these options.
But we could be doing this draft just once in a lifetime.
Was it once in a lifetime?
was it twice in
Anyway, all right. So I apparently have the honor of going first. Dan's got the shitty middle.
I really-
and
I got the
then
first double whammy.
double banger. He gets the double banger.
Love it.
fires off
Kick
10.
us off, Ted.
Look, I think I'm going to choose the one that I think we
You-
all
you
would
gotta
choose as
be
number one.
Best WrestleMania match ever, please.
If I don't do it,
Mickey
I will get
James
punched
versus
in the
Trish
face.
Stratus.
Oh, leave him alone. No, it's 100% Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. The first one.
At WrestleMania 25.
WrestleMania 25, yeah.
WrestleMania 25. Everybody agrees, except for Dave Meltzer, that this,
Bloody day.
You watch this back,
Hold up.
and it's just as exciting to watch back, even though you know the result, you know what's coming, the reversals and moves they pulled off, and the whole story that they told. It's just the perfect match. It really is.
Reese, as the tattooed Undertaker fan of all of us, mostly, was this the first kick out of a tombstone?
Oh, don't call me that much of a fan. I don't know.
Because I feel like I don't know
the
whether or
first
not
televised
I feel
one,
like
at
it
least.
was
Kane kicked
like-
out of one. Did Kane ever kick out of it?
Yeah, I'm sure, like, the Kane and Undertaker feud and stuff, but, like, outside of that, I feel like possibly. But, like, don't quote me on
this
it.
was
I
the
don't know.
when
Like,
Adam
it was
stepped
just
up
like-
and then he kicked out Undertaker's face.
But that
Yeah.
reaction where he slipped down onto his chest and
Yeah.
like seeing Undertaker break that facade that he always had at Mania,
Yeah.
I think that was what made
And like that was sort of the thing. Like, we had the streak up until this point, but I feel like it wasn't until this match that everyone was actually thinking, "Hey, this is where the streak's going to end,
yeah.
or where
yeah,
it's going to
and
break."
and like the
And they played off that really well.
the pompous and stance of all of the entrances to this too. Shawn Michaels coming out of the sky as
Literally being the polar opposite of Undertaker at that time. Shawn had been reborn Christian. He'd taken a good side, so he comes down from the
good
heavens.
versus evil kind of thing. Yeah,
But like, he had the Undertaker get up. He had a bright white trench coat on. He had the white hat as well. And then you had Undertaker rising from the depths.
Yeah, but just that whole like in the story with Shawn being yes he's smaller but he's quicker.
Yeah.
Being able to dodge those punches that Undertaker was so well known for, and that moonsault into the tombstone, that was just pure. Like that was cinema, man.
And then the dive.
Yeah.
From Undertaker.
The infamous dive that didn't
the
kill
cameraman
Taker.
that didn't want to catch him.
He was unemployed.
All right,
very
pick
quickly.
two.
Go on, man.
Right, here we
Next
go,
one.
Dave.
Here we go.
I kind of
Oh, he wants to do it. He
I
wants
kind
to
of
do
wanted
it.
to double down. I'm not going to double down. I'm going to see how the draft picks fall. I'm going to take what I'd say a lot of other traditionalists would say is the best WrestleMania match ever, and I am going to take the Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin
Okay.
double turn
the double
match
turn.
at WrestleMania 13.
Okay, no, that's a good choice.
I think that the fact that this was the point of their careers, obviously, where Stone Cold was starting to become a babyface favorite, and the crowd had obviously started to turn behind him. Bret was losing the crowd to a degree, and I think they both led into this. And that iconic photo
Yeah.
of Stone Cold busted open, bleeding in the sharpshooter, not tapping out, is just phenomenal. And that match just has such a nostalgic feel to everybody, and is such a huge importance. Purely on that's the creation of like what the Stone Cold character turned out to be, and how much he
that was the
changed the
turning
industry
point.
going forward. That
Yeah.
was the turning point.
Yeah, that was the pivotal moment in Austin's history to propel him to where he would be. Like it's
So
just
that's why I'm picking that as
No, that's a good choice.
no, that's a fair pick.
That's a fantastic choice.
Right, double whammy time, guys.
Here we
Are we
go.
ready?
WrestleMania. I've got to remember my Roman numerals. Yep, gotcha.
Yep.
All right, Reece,
All
you're
right,
up.
here we
You could
go.
just write the number if you want, bro.
I'm not doing that.
We won't judge ya.
What do you guys reckon I'm going to pick?
Ah, mate, look at that tattoo on your arm.
We are no, not that. We are going back
Oh.
to WrestleMania, the best WrestleMania of all time.
WrestleMania
17.
3. Oh,
17.
Okay, all right.
Hands down. Best
Yep.
WrestleMania of all time. I'm going for the tag team triple threat
Oh,
TLC match.
TLC 2. He
left
went
that-
for it early. He went for it early.
I was going to and I left that.
That's
I-
on all our lists.
I
man.
remember when I was younger and I watched it for the first time.
Yeah.
Because, like, back in the days when we were growing up, we still had VHS tapes. We were going to video stores and renting them. That is one that I would watch all the time. That match.
Yep.
Edge and Christian versus the Hardys versus the Dudleys. You had the run-in from Spike Dudley, the run-in from Lita, the run-in from Rhino as well. Like, what they managed to pull off in that match was just, it's beyond words at times. And then you get those iconic spots like Edge doing the spear from the top of the ladder to
yeah.
Jeff Hardy.
Jeff doing the swanton off the ladder outside
It's
to
just
Rhino
like
through
there's
a table.
so many crazy moments. And I feel like the first TLC match that they did was good. This one took it to a whole other level.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it set the standard for matches like this moving forward.
Yeah, I agree.
It was how you do a chaos match without it looking
Too chaos.
too chaotic, if that makes sense. You know, like
It's
the
just-
Stadium Stampede matches.
Hey, we're doing WrestleManias. Let's throw shade. Let's leave them alone.
I'm not throwing
Yeah.
any shade.
No, no,
man.
And the good thing too with this Reece is that I don't have to remember the Roman numerals because it was WrestleMania X7.
Yeah.
And that's what they always called it. So
Yep.
It is X7.
Correct.
Will always be X7. All right, Reece, what's your next choice?
All right, what's next? That's the question, man. That's the question.
oh, it's too many choices.
There
I
really is.
I really wanted the TLC match. That was high on my list.
It
I
was.
like,
Me
I
too,
think,
man.
I think everyone loves one-on-one matches at WrestleMania.
I think I might go something a bit more recent.
Yeah, I do love one-on-one.
Okay.
I'm gonna go something a bit more recent because, like, we're that end of an era saga. Those 4 matches,
Yep.
they will all make the list at some point. But I want to get some different stuff in.
Okay.
Sure.
So I'm going to go with something from last year's WrestleMania.
Oh, you bastard.
Whoa, which one am I picking though?
Yeah, which one are you picking?
John Cena versus Austin Theory.
Oh, what a pick.
I'm kidding.
I really believed you then for a minute. I'm like, wow, okay.
The Usos versus KO and Sami.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
The
Actually, not
absolutely
the one I would have picked, but
the perfect storytelling of that, how that story managed to progress through Sami's time in the Bloodline to that turning point at the Royal Rumble, getting that title match with Roman at Chamber, and then progressing to getting back with Kevin Owens, being the first ever tag team title main event of a WrestleMania.
yeah.
And just the story they told in that, the history and the emotion that they wove into that as well, it's hard to look past that.
Yep.
It's such an impactful point in tag team history, for sure.
It was a hell of a match.
It was.
Haluva match.
Hell of a match.
match. Right, my pick. I'm going to now pander to the fact that we all want to pick those end of an era matches, and I'm going to take my choice out of the 4. I can't get the best one, which I think was the one that Ted picked, which was the first one. So I'm going to take what I believe is the next best match in that series, although all 4 of them are top tier wrestling and back to back. I don't think anybody could ever put a better 4 matches in a row than The Undertaker did at WrestleMania in those 4 years. But I am going to take the Hell in a Cell, the Hell in a Cell,
Hell in a Cell.
end of an era,
Yep.
WrestleMania 28
Yes.
match against
Yes.
Undertaker and Triple H
With
with
Shawn
HBK
Michaels.
as the special guest referee. It was brilliant.
Mm.
End of it, like the amount of spots that they put into this match, the fact that it was in the cell, the tension of Shawn, that spot of Undertaker turning into a sweet chin music around into Triple H, pedigreeing him 1-2, and he kicks out.
But but it was the build to that where
Oh.
Trips had to say to Shawn, if you don't end this,
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
going to
do it.
hit him in the head. Like, I'll end it. And that's
Yeah.
why Shawn did the sweet chin music, because he thought, I'm being merciful by doing this, because otherwise Trips is going to kill him.
Kill him
Like,
with
he's
a
gonna-
sledgehammer.
He's going to do it, you know? And then him in the corner, like that, just, oh, yeah.
Just
and the hug at
brilliant.
the end, dude, at the top of the ramp. Like,
Yep.
the
Yeah.
embrace,
It
like,
was the end of an era. It was just a phenomenal match.
End of an era, which then got slightly rehashed.
Look,
a little
it was
down
the
the
end of
road.
an era until Saudi Arabia came with all its money.
But hey, we got the Super Showdown match.
You sure? Which then led to the Saudi
Yeah.
show
But we got it
afterwards, where
first.
We actually got
it first.
Kane and HBK in the ring, which they should not have done. But yeah, that's my pick. Is the end of the era match. I think that of that suite of matches, this was the better match between him and Triple H. So that's my pick.
No, perfect. And we'll go into my double banger.
We will.
And I'm going to get more bang for my buck. Because with this double banger,
Don't take the one I want. Don't take that one.
this double banger is going to be. I'm going to give it away right now, man. These are both multi-man matches.
Oh, don't take it.
Because you boys always give me shit about lurking one-on-one. So my first one
Calm down.
is going to be Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton versus Batista at WrestleMania 30.
Oh, I didn't have that on my list. So
It's on my list.
Oh, dude, it's a hell of a match. And I think the match itself, I mean, obviously you say those three names, like it speaks for itself, right? Yeah. Batista and Orton, Batista obviously had come back.
This was the Blue Tista.
This was the Blue Tista era. Yeah. But
No,
it wasn't Blue. No, it wasn't. It was before that. Blue Tista was after that.
Yeah.
But Batista had come back, but they wanted him. Because he won the Rumble.
He won the Rumble,
Which we got negative.
that was the year that everyone was backing Roman
Yeah.
because it was Roman and Batista as the last two. Batista
But that was-
ended up winning.
but that was the
they
year
wanted Daniel Bryan to win.
Yes,
they didn't put
correct.
him in the Rumble.
He wasn't in
And
the Rumble
when
at all.
he wasn't number
Yeah.
30, the crowd booed.
Yeah, correct. But that whole
Boo Tista.
storyline of the Yes movement, the build up to it, the fact that he was in the opening match of the card to
be
get
got a
into-
shoulder injury, which then got played on in
Correct.
the match as well.
and then him with those two belts, with all the confetti at the end, like it was the perfect sort of Cinderella story for WrestleMania 30. I think it was just. I know you don't like it, but you can go away.
No. I'm just once you're done, just let me cook for a sec. I'll help you.
Well, you can, bro. Please
Yeah,
add to it.
make his pick better.
Think about how WrestleMania 20 ended. We won't say his name, but
Yeah, I
picture
know.
it
Yeah.
This was that.
Yep. And then 30.
with
And
Eddie
now we've got
with the
40.
confetti. Yeah,
But now
there's going to be more confetti.
You're talking about Connor the Crusher is who you're talking about, which I don't want to get into it because it will literally make me cry because that whole.
No one's talking
video-
about Connor.
Yeah, I know, but I am because that was that WrestleMania where if you watch the video, that's
Yeah,
what
I know,
happened
I've seen.
afterwards. So, the fact
I've
that,
seen it, Ted.
I know, dude, and it's an absolute heart jerker, but it made me really appreciate Daniel Bryan even more. But yeah, that whole match, the way it just look for me.
I'm just really disappointed we're never going to see a Daniel Bryan versus Bryan Danielson match.
Oh, there's still a chance.
Okay.
Still a chance. All right, so I'm going to round out the double banger. I'm going to go with another triple threat, but I'm going with a very recent one.
He's picking it.
I'm going with Gunther versus Drew versus Sheamus.
What an absolute slogfest.
Mate, if you like that will go down in history as whenever you talk about big meaty men slapping man meat, that is the match that everyone's going to be talking about and referring to. And the fact that he's had such other good matches with Drew and Sheamus outside of that triple threat, and yet that triple threat still somehow stands above those, that shows how good that match
crazy.
was. And they did, you look at it, it wasn't a technical wrestling match in any way, shape, or form. They went out there and just beat
beating
the
the
living
crap
crap
out
out
of
of
each
each other. And it was one of those matches where you literally thought any one of these three are going to win this.
Yeah.
Anyone could win it. And it put Gunther over big time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, he's had such a great run with the Intercontinental belt, but that and the Chad Gable stuff, I think, are the main ones that people think back on as to why that Intercontinental belt means what it means now. That's my pick.
It's
Two
great.
triple threats.
Great pick. Great picks.
Probably didn't see that coming, but that's
No,
all right.
I didn't.
Hopefully it hasn't thrown you off too much, my friend.
No, look, they were both on my list. And I've got a few other picks, so I'm gonna go with one. Again, I'm gonna stick to go back to the nostalgia again and go back to WrestleMania 18? 17. I'm gonna go WrestleMania 17.
X7. Thank you.
X7, which had the fantastic TLC match. And I'm going to take the greatest wrestling promo video package of all time. And I'm taking The Rock versus Stone Cold.
Yep.
WrestleMania 17.
Yep.
The build up to this match obviously was phenomenal. They were both the faces of the company. The fact that they started teasing each other's finishes all the way up into the match.
brilliant.
And they did it in the match the way The Rock used to sell the stunner. Stone Cold hitting the Rock bottom on. It was just peak wrestling.
And the fact that people forget that The Rock wasn't even champion until that Royal Rumble. I
Correct.
think it was the Royal Rumble. He won the title off of Kurt Angle.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
To
he
put it in
wasn't
that
even
match.
the champion.
Yep.
So they only had from the Rumble to Mania to build that
But they
story.
did the Mania main event the year prior.
No,
Yes.
it was
No,
15,
2 years.
2
yeah.
years before.
15.
before, yeah.
It was
So they had that to kind of build off, but then that build up to that match, the promo package,
And
like,
the My Way video.
I go back, you go back and watch that, and it's just like
peak.
It just gets me
Goosebumps
pumped every time.
The Rock.
And I love, like, I went last year.
that's our childhood, man.
I went
Like,
last year to
that's-
Good Things Festival, which had Limp Bizkit there, and like they were okay live. They were pretty good live. I'll give them that credit.
Were you watching the
There,
promo
no,
video?
there is video of TikTok of a lady when Limp Bizkit did their sideshow in the Horden Pavilion, holding up the video of the Rock and Stone Cold promo package,
Yeah.
whilst Fred Durst is on stage playing My Way.
Amazing.
Love it.
So
Amazing.
good. That's what that almost alone for that promo package. Gets a spot on this
I think
list.
the only because you guys know obviously I'm a massive Stone Cold mark. Like
Yes,
he's
we
my
are
boy.
aware.
He's the whole reason. I think the only thing that maybe kept me from putting that higher on the list for me was
Vince.
probably the finish. But everything else building up to that was perfect. Like even the last minute, this is a no holds barred, like no disqualification. And everyone going, what the hell? How does that like? That all worked. The finish itself was a little bit of a letdown because multiple people, as I said, the crowd didn't want him to be a heel and they cheered him anyway. So
Yeah, and I mean that
kinda-
didn't last too long.
no. He became the funny heel because that's what people wanted.
because some great moments. Great moments.
No, but still, it still deserves to be in the draft, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
All right.
Reece.
So we had them at 15,
Yep.
at 17, and the next pick is going to be them at WrestleMania 19.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
I absolutely loved this match, not just for the sentimental fact that was Stone Cold's last match up until WrestleMania 38, but the build up to that. 17 was peak them,
Absolutely.
but the
Attitude Era.
way they managed to play off that and just create something new, because this was after The Rock had done his Hollywood return. He was playing
Hollywood
the heel.
Rock. Yeah.
It was technically, I think Austin won both of the previous matches, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
He was, and that was the whole point. Was you've never beaten me at Mania, and you're not going to do
and
it.
this
That
was
the whole
Rock
point.
wanting to prove a point, like he can do this. And the way they built that match, the fact that they were trading finishes all throughout that match. Rock even got the Stone Cold vest on
Yeah.
to give
I remember
him
that.
stunners,
Stunner.
Oh,
Yeah.
to give him
Brilliant.
rock bottoms,
Brilliant.
to do the people's elbow, and then the 3 count, the little thank you to Austin.
Well, the
As,
fact
as
that the
Rock
rest of us-
finally got that victory over him.
and the fact that the rest of us didn't know
Yeah.
that,
That
was
was it.
Stone Cold's
Yeah.
last match. I remember after that WrestleMania, for weeks and weeks, I'm like, "Where's Austin? When's he coming back?"
Well, that
Like,
was
what's
the thing.
What's going
what happened
on?
after that was they were going to do the King of the Ring tournament, and that's when they had advertised the Rock versus Brock match, and Austin was against that because the character that Brock was, he could see that superstar potential.
Yeah.
The fact that they were just going to have it at a random Raw and
Yeah,
have no
exactly.
build to it,
Yeah.
that's when he walked away.
No, exactly. No, good choice, man.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Right.
Go again.
Yep. Go again. What am I going to pick?
What are you going to pick?
I'm going to give a shout out to the women.
Okay. Good.
I'm
Least
going to
my
go
pick for me,
with the
thank
one that we have talked about many, many times.
Yep.
One that we may have potentially talked about today in earlier recordings.
I will already start running it down before you even say it.
Yep.
Mommy.
Mommy versus Charlotte.
Yeah.
WrestleMania
Deserves-
39.
It deserves to be there, hands down.
Now, to rehash myself from the video that we just talked about half an hour ago, the way that they were able to build that story off their interaction during the pandemic, which nobody got to see that WrestleMania match because it was during lockdown at a performance center with 0 people in attendance. And then building that to have that massive confrontation and just the quality of match that we had at WrestleMania last year between those two women was just absolutely amazing. It really struck a chord with me when we were watching it.
Yeah.
That, like, always getting sentimental about the fact that we have such a prominent, strong Australian figure in a public eye like that.
Yeah.
But just the work that they were able to put on is just second to none.
Oh, dude, it was. Yeah, I mean, I think you've articulated it already, man. Like you could say that to most people and say it's probably one of the greatest women's matches of all time, not just WrestleMania. And I don't think many people would argue with you. Like it was just the build up to it, as you said, with the history around the NXT title from Charlotte challenging her for that, and just the match itself, man, was an absolute banger. That riptide off the turnbuckle. That was just insane.
It was huge.
Like
Absolutely
that
massive.
was mental. And it really put Charlotte really put Rhea over. She's made her look dominant.
And you could kind of see that
Yeah.
in Charlotte's reaction afterwards. Like, because the whole time building up to that was the fact that Charlotte had already beaten her, and she knew that Rhea couldn't do it. And it was building that story of Rhea overcoming the odds, dethroning Charlotte, the greatest women's wrestler of all time. Put that in quotations.
I mean,
because it's
by
subjective.
accolades, but yes.
It's subjective.
Yep.
And overcoming that mountain, you could see in the shot, I think it was Charlotte was leaning against the stairs after she just lost. She was crying, but you could also see there was like pride in her look as well, because she pushed Rhea to that spot, and she finally overcome.
And
the
considering that Charlotte's, been a little bit...
Poo-poo job face.
Well, not poo-poo job face, but she's been accused of being a little bit Triple H. Like Triple H used to get that burying people criticism, and Charlotte sort of had the same.
That really felt like a passing of the torch moment.
It definitely did.
There are other women's matches, if they had been at WrestleMania, I would pick, but they haven't been. They've been at other pay-per-views, but that one is hands down. Yeah, man, come on.
It was a very close
Very
toss-up
good
between
choice.
that and another women's match,
Mm.
which might choose it, might just give it an honourable mention. We'll see how the rest of the draft
I think
goes.
I know the one you're talking about, and for me, I think it might be honourable, but we'll see. Dan,
My second to last
before
pick.
my last two, no pressure.
I'm going to throw in a multi-man match.
Another one.
So I haven't thrown in a multi-man match for myself yet.
Okay. I'm interested to see which one this is.
You are interested?
Yeah.
We're going to go all the way back. WrestleMania 21. We are going to go
know.
with the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yeah, okay,
I'm
fair
happy
enough.
with that.
So I just want to confirm everyone that was in it so that we are
Well, the winner, Edge.
correct. This was the start of the Ultimate Opportunist.
Yep.
This was the start of that career for him.
Mm-hmm.
There was Edge. There was
Jericho.
because Jericho was the one who on the Raw before it announced this was the idea, so he came up with the Money in the Bank match. There was Edge. There was Christian. There was Kane. There was Jericho. There was the Intercontinental Champion Shelton Benjamin in this.
Yes.
And there was Redacted was in this match.
Oh, right. I didn't realise he was in there.
Redacted was the one who nearly won this match too. So
Yes, right. I remember now. Yeah.
this was a beautiful train wreck, as we've seen from the
Mm-hmm.
TLC matches and stuff.
Did this open the show or was it second?
I think it was possibly.
It was very early on.
Yeah.
It was very early on.
This was also the first match that like Shelton Benjamin really shined in, where
Oh.
he was running on the ladders and then
I remember that.
Fisherman
That running
suplexes
and
on
the
people.
clothesline. He ran up the ladder.
Yep.
And I can't remember who he clotheslined, but he ran up the ladder perfectly, didn't miss a step, clothesline off the top of that. Yep. And that became, I think, what I love about this match as well, and I love the fact you've chosen it because I was going to choose it myself anyway, was it set the tone for every other Money in the Bank since. So when you see any other Money in the Bank, you can make correlations from that one to the first ever one. Like there are set, it's like a Royal Rumble match, you know what I mean? There's set things that have to happen for it to be that type of match.
because there was obviously spots with Kane being he was the muscle in the match. He was throwing people around. He had the ladder on his head. he was
Yeah,
running
spinning
hitting everybody.
around, yep.
I'm pretty sure Edge and Christian each had chairs that whacked the ladder, which is what took Kane
Yeah.
out. All those different spots, all the high flying stuff. The end of it where I think the crowd really wanted Redacted to win.
Yep.
He was the fan favorite, I guess, going into it, but he'd already injured his arm in the match, so they played up on that heaps.
Yep.
As he climbed to reach for the briefcase, he was almost there and he couldn't go, and then Edge just cracked him with a chair.
Yep.
Ultimate Opportunist is born. The Money in the Bank then was a spectacle at WrestleMania for the next however many years, and then it became its own pay-per-view. And I really wish they put it back to just a match on WrestleMania because it was such a highlight of those WrestleManias in that 2000s
And then it
period.
gives you that little bit of like, will they cash it in straight away?
that night. Yeah,
Will
exactly.
they cash it
So,
in straight away?
yeah, the first one, I loved that Money in the Bank match. Loved
Nope.
it.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
Good pick.
Okay, I'm going to end with two, and I'm finding it really hard because there are a lot of matches I wish I could mention, but I think there's going to be a pretty long honorable mentions list at the end.
Quite possible.
So for my second last, I'm going to go for this one, which is talked about multiple times. It's always on these lists. It's not for the actual wrestling ability in the match. It's for the build-up. It's for the crowd. It was for the whole spectacle.
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
going for WrestleMania 18, what should have been the main event.
Yep, correct.
Rock versus Hogan. And obviously, I've already mentioned the crowd was hot. The fact that this is very similar to what you were talking about with Brett and Stone Cold in the sense of it wasn't really a double turn because Rock didn't go full heel, but the fact that they realized, holy shit, this crowd is behind Hollywood.
Hogan, yeah.
Like they want him to be Hollywood Hogan again, and the fact that they were able to just pivot and make
I think that was the
work.
first time that Hogan had been back in Canada for a very long time. So it's not surprising that the crowd got so
But
behind
it was
him.
so hot. Like to get a crowd like that ever again is gonna be hard, man.
And
Like,
what-
This is
they
like the
were
first 2 minutes of
just-
the match is
Them
them
just
just
walking
like
around staring.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they
just
played
like-
it perfectly.
Like I remember, I saw a clip of it a few years back, and I went back and watched the match, and it's just like gives you goosebumps that the crowd had that strong of a reaction, and it was just two people in a ring looking.
And they weren't
at each
doing
other.
anything.
No.
They were just looking at each other.
And if
just
you look
crazy,
at
and I
classic
really-
matches, like we've talked about before, when I talked about with the passing of Terry Funk and looking back at his matches with Ric Flair, they did the exact same thing back in the day. It was all about what they didn't do. You know, like avoiding contact, looking at the crowd, interacting, letting them react. And they did it perfectly. And then I think the thing after as well with Hogan holding his ribs and going out for that handshake and shaking the Rock's hand and giving that, this guy's
looking like a
good.
very vulnerable Hogan, which
it-
we didn't see often.
And
at
it was
all.
because that NWO run out with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, that was an audible.
Yeah.
That was an audible at the end where they said, go beat him up. Go out there and beat him up.
Yeah.
Because he's now gone face. That was all audible. And then Rock running back, and it led to, obviously, tag matches with them. But look, the crowd made it. The crowd made it. If I've heard many people say before, if you watch it back and mute the sound, it is a terrible match. Right? It is not anything technical. Without the sound of the crowd and the build up
Like
and everything
most
else,
Hogan
it's very
matches,
different.
though.
It's very
Yeah.
different. But I don't think it can be left off the list. And the last one, I'm actually going to go for a bit of maybe a bit of left field. Because I
Okay.
like my left field ones.
Bit of left field.
It is an Undertaker match, but I don't know if it's the one you think it's going to be.
Giant Gonzalez.
No. Funnily enough.
versus Sid at WrestleMania 7.
No, it's the Boneyard.
Okay.
I was almost going to put that on my list.
I've gone with him against AJ Styles, WrestleMania 36.
Dude, that Boneyard match was sick.
And the main reason for the fact of it was that like pre-recorded version. It was just something so different, but him and AJ made it so watchable. Like it was just awesome. And I think it gave Undertaker that ability to have that Undertaker aura one last time without having to be in the ring. Because, and I'm not trying to throw shade at him, but we all know he wasn't at his,
Most
physical
mobile.
best anymore. And
Absolutely.
he couldn't do that half an hour match anymore at WrestleMania. He just couldn't, right? It was literally killing him. Like you watch the documentaries afterwards, it was killing him. So the fact they were able to pivot, make it a pre-recorded match, and some of the spots in it were just so good, man. That moment of Undertaker coming up behind him in that light when
It's
he thinks
now a
he's
meme,
buried
yeah.
him, like just iconic, man. And it's become a
meme.
a meme. I just loved it, dude. I really, really did. And yeah, the fact that that's his last match. It is his last match. We're not going to count other things. I had to go with it just because it was so different.
I think he thinks that the Saudi shows were after that, but it wasn't.
Wasn't it?
No.
I thought it was.
No,
Thank God for that. It was his last
was
match.
his last
Thank
match.
you.
Yeah, I was
I
going
was
to say,
getting
I
mixed
was
up
like,
then.
what are you talking
I
about?
was
Did
thinking
I
about
miss something?
Goldberg, the night that Goldberg nearly killed him. But no, I know
that
it
was
was
close.
close.
That was-
but
yeah.
No,
Because remember, that was in front of a crowd.
yes, it was.
Wow.
True.
Brutal.
It's so strange to like look back at that time period and like
well,
looking at clips from like the Thunderdome era kind of like improved it a little bit, but it's still like it's so noticeably like just no crowd.
But I think that's why that match also worked was the fact that it was so theatrical.
Yeah,
rather
and
than
that was
actually
a really
being
good
in
thing
the ring in
about
front of
the
people.
like when they started doing those theatrical matches during the pandemic. It really paid off because there was no one there. Like you could
How
do those
good were
things.
they, Reece? Talk them right up.
Do you want me to?
Yeah.
No, we
Oh,
haven't
boy.
got time right now.
Okay, well, we can because my next pick and my last pick is going to be the Firefly Funhouse match.
That was on my list.
good
No,
man.
dude, I
Good man.
completely
I
agree.
was tossing up a bunch of them, and look, we all know that Pandemania wasn't great for wrestling, and I don't think I could ever go back and actually sit down and watch WrestleMania 36.
And like that's the thing. Like I looked back at that card, there were so many matches I forgot about that actually happened there.
Yeah.
Because like there are a few standout ones that we all
Like
talk about.
Drew McIntyre versus Big Show for the title.
Dark match, which they showed on Raw the next night. But like it's just such a weird time.
But it was a weird WrestleMania.
And also the
but-
fact that I forgot that Drew beat Brock in under 5 minutes.
Yeah, because it was just...
And
I
he-
don't remember it
Claymore,
being that
Claymore,
quick.
Claymore.
his match with Big Show was longer.
Longer,
It was.
I'm going to go with the Firefly Funhouse match.
That was on my list.
I loved the theatrics of this. I loved the way that this was such a light into John Cena's career through all the different things he's done, the big SmackDown fist, the Doctor of Thugonomics, the NWO stuff that he did with Bray and him. Like, it was just in Cena's mind. Yeah. And, you know, you go back now and you hear some of the conversations that Cena's had with Chris Van Vliet and different things, Logan Paul and stuff, saying that match was done, like, he wrote that on the weekend before WrestleMania. Like,
crazy,
1 week beforehand, they came up with an idea, and he's chatted to Bray, and Bray was like, let's do it, let's go as wild as we can. And then they essentially just went into the WWE warehouse in wherever WWE is.
A bunch of the memorabilia.
They went, what's in the warehouse? Yeah. What can we find? And that's where they found the SmackDown fist, and they found all this different stuff. It's just so brilliantly done. And like the
psychology behind it as well. I feel like that's something a lot of people either don't pick up on properly, or because they don't understand it, they just like trash this match.
Oh, and just
but I think
the psychology behind it, just like playing with Cena's history, and like that's where the NWO came into it. Like the heel turn that we never got.
One of my favorite things that I loved about that match too is this little subtle moments of Brady where Cena was swinging at him and he kept missing. Yeah, and then they went back to Bray and he was dancing, saying, "You can look, but you can't touch." Yeah, like that's a shot at him with the Bellas. Like
the sheer fact, I think what it is,
and
man,
like
it was
like
before
beating up the puppet.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then like it cuts to him and he like realizes he's beaten up on the puppet and he's just like visibly shaken, and like, he did really well there.
It was
and
before
its
really time.
Sold the effect.
I think that's why it wasn't well received, is because it was before its time.
But it was
you look
done
back
at
on
the
it.
perfect time.
Oh yeah,
they could
you look
not
back
have
on
done
it.
that any other time.
And if you guys, because I haven't purchased WWE 2K24 just yet. I might buy it.
You can do that.
Is there a match option of five?
So no. The whole point of it is it's WrestleMania 40, so it's the last 40 years of WrestleMania. So you're like, there's a career bit where you play through key WrestleMania matches. And I was watching Santi's app. Shout out to Santi on his Twitch and YouTube channels. He was playing it through on Twitch, and you have to do like there was 2 matches that he was playing when I was watching his stream. One was the 35 Becky, Charlotte, Ronda match, and you had to hit certain spots. And then the way that they've done it in the game is that you play it like it's a game, but then it says make sure you grab Charlotte's ankle in the ring while Rousey's stunned, and then you do that, and then it goes to the cinematic.
Yeah,
and it shows you all of how
they did that in the previous one too, but it was with John Cena's career, so it was.
So this is WrestleMania matches.
Yeah,
they do that in the Firefly Funhouse match.
that's pretty cool.
So you have to do certain things,
Punch the puppet
as Bray or whatever, and then it goes to the cinematic of it, and it's just
that's really cool.
Such a great match.
Good choice.
Yep.
Good choice.
Round us out, Reece.
Oh man, the pressure is building.
Your last choice,
I
man.
wouldn't have picked us to have 2 Pandemania wrestling matches on this list, but we did.
There's a lot of matches to choose from, dude.
I know. I've got 5 left on my list.
Oh, pick one.
I know. I feel like I'm gonna go with this for pure nostalgia's sake.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a Kane match?
Isaac Yankem.
Yes.
It's Undertaker Kane at WrestleMania 20?
No.
No?
Versus Big Show versus Raven in the hardcore title match at
Oh,
WrestleMania
I
17.
should have known you'd pick that.
Mate,
Another
this
X7. Okay.
this match, and this is what I mean, like because we were
Who was it? Kane, Raven, Big
Kane,
Show.
Raven, Big Show for the
Triple
hardcore
threat,
title.
And
Kane won it.
it starts in the ring. And like my favorite thing for them to do in hardcore matches is to go
Bless you.
out the back, go backstage, do a bunch of shit.
Yep.
Show us behind the scenes. I've always loved that stuff. And this is probably where it comes from, this match, because they did it so much. Throwing each other through windows, using golf carts to ram each other down. They finally come back on the stage. Kane choke slams them off the stage, because I think Big Show went through, and then he choke slams Raven on the Big Show.
Yep.
Then goes down and gets the pin, gets the 1, 2, 3, gets the hardcore title. But it's just that was such a pivotal moment for me, because I feel like that really piqued my interest of like behind the scenes stuff, and it's been so prevalent for me growing up. Like I think partly that's why I like autobiographies so much, because you get that behind the scenes look at how everyone functions outside and like what the back looks like. Because that's the thing with like the product that we watch. It's made out to be like such a spectacle, so phenomenal. Like when you get those little insights and like hearing about Becky talk about the fact that she didn't want to squash Bianca.
Yeah.
Like you don't get that in the 80s.
No.
Because the product's just so
Kayfabe,
more
baby.
open
But it was
these days.
like the key example to that is The Undertaker.
Yeah.
Like his whole career was The Undertaker, and you knew
But we
nothing
only know
about
the
him.
stuff now.
If you could have imagined some of the stories that he could have told in the 2000s, if you had a Logan Paul podcast, then he would sit down and tell you some of the things that were happening. Like, it would have been a phenomenal look into what that wrestling industry was like.
Somewhat
at the time.
tremendous, you could
It would
say.
have been tremendous. It would have been. Yeah.
And like that's the thing. This hardcore match was really
Yeah.
impactful for me.
It was good
I
fun.
absolutely love this match.
I'm a little sad that none of us picked Rob Gronkowski winning the 24/7 title.
out.
Mate, we got time for honorable mentions.
Okay,
Let's
that's an
go.
honorable mention.
Well, quick honourable mentions, and then we'll go back
You're
through the list.
You're actually joking though, right?
I mean,
Absolutely.
we've obviously got to
Right.
talk about the other end of era matches that I don't think made the
Streak
list.
versus
but
career.
I feel like we chose
The better ones of.
yes because I feel like Shawn Michaels' retirement match. Okay, I feel like 25 was better.
Yep.
It's the Hell in a Cell match. Like that one
Yeah,
was
that one
a
was
lot
epic.
more impactful than the year prior with
But I mean,
Triple H.
there's a reason that HBK is called Mr. WrestleMania.
Exactly.
Right? You've got those two against Taker. You've got
Ric
the
Flair's
Ric Flair
retirement match.
The I Love
Yeah.
You Rick kick. You've got the Kurt Angle at 21.
That's one of my honorable mentions because that was on my list. You
Yep.
got the
Chris Jericho. Did we mention that? Sorry, just then. Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels. Did you get
WrestleMania 19.
Yep.
That-
And then
another
20,
one.
you have Shawn versus Triple H versus Redacted
Yeah.
that? Yep.
as the main event.
Sean, Mr. WrestleMania. Man.
Yeah, man.
They're all brilliant matches.
Yeah.
Kurt versus Brock at
Yep.
WrestleMania
It's
19.
on my
Yeah,
list.
We
gotta
talked
mention
about that before.
One of the ones that I didn't end up picking was one of the other women's matches, just because I
Bianca
think of
versus Sasha.
No, I actually was going to go for the triple threat, but because of the botched finish, it didn't make it.
Compared to, I'm not a fan of that match. At all.
Really, Ronda versus Becky versus
That's a
Charlotte.
good match.
I thought it was
It
good.
was okay.
The one I had on my list for the other women's match, apart from
The build up was better.
Rhea Charlotte,
Build-up was amazing.
Yeah.
Becky versus Bianca.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got that, and I think Bianca versus
That's
Sasha
38.
Banks, that first all African American women's main event.
And the other match that we have to mention, because I think you've said
I've got
you've actually
one
watched
more.
it though, Reese.
Yeah,
is the one that's
I
always
was
talked about within wrestling circles about being the
Definitely
greatest WrestleMania
contemplating
match.
putting it on my list, but
Macho. I think it was known as the Macho King versus Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah.
Was that WrestleMania 3?
WrestleMania 3.
WrestleMania 3 for the Intercontinental title.
Now I'll be honest, I haven't watched it, but I've heard a lot about
Watched
it.
a couple
so
of
I think
times.
you should go
I
check
think
it out,
the
maybe.
story behind it is really where it gets its sort of like
Aura.
yeah, order. That's a really good word to put it, because it essentially came to Macho Man in a dream. He dreamt this match. He wrote it down step by step by step by step. Gave it to Ricky Steamboat and said, "This is what we're doing at WrestleMania." And look what happened.
It was a good match. Yeah,
Like everyone talks about this match being so pivotal. Like you talk about all the current superstars, the ones who are from the Attitude Era and held the Intercontinental Championship. They always bring it back to this match,
Yeah.
and the caliber that it
Steamboat,
actually had
yep.
was just phenomenal.
The other two matches that I want to just add as my honorable mentions, the one we didn't talk about was the Iron Man match between Brett and Shawn,
Yep.
WrestleMania 12.
Yep.
Went to the time limit draw, and then HBK won it. The super kicks after that. That's obviously another original Iron Man match. There's also the Shawn and Razor. God, he's Mr. WrestleMania, isn't he? Jesus Christ.
He really is, dude. He really
Against
is.
Razor at WrestleMania 10, the ladder match, the first ever real ladder match sort of thing that they had. So the trend setting for that.
Because they were apparently doing ladder matches and stuff on like random like house shows and
yeah.
live events and stuff. And
Yeah.
I think it might have been Michael Hayes or someone else who was working alongside Vince backstage said, "Look at what these guys are doing, like
Yeah, put it
off
on the show.
screen.
Try it.
Yeah.
Put it on."
Yep.
And then like everyone talks about that unification.
And the other one I wanted to give the honorable mention to, it's maybe not necessarily for the match itself. The match was quite good, but I think the build to you drafted the Yes movement with Daniel Bryan, how he won, and then he got into the main event.
Kofi Mania.
Kofi Mania.
Yeah.
That build, I still remember vividly that gauntlet match that he had to win to
Yep.
qualify to get into that match against Daniel Bryan, and how the crowd was so behind him.
Yeah.
That month of Kofi Mania
Wasn't
was
it-
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Wasn't it the New Day that had to go through a tag? Turn on?
Eventually, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So they had
That one I remember because I remember the Usos coming out and then forfeiting
yes,
so they could progress because they
Yes.
were like,
because Kofi
"We
had done
believe
it
in you
already.
guys."
Their reaction, I think, was the bet when Kofi won the belt. It was him with that sit up thing, but the fact that Xavier and Big E were already halfway in the ring when he was already celebrating to celebrate with their best mate to give him
Absolutely.
his moment that he deserved. A couple of other really quick special mentions that I want to shove in there. Edge versus Mick Foley.
Yeah, that was a very close
Spear
one.
through the flaming table.
Do you know that happened because Edge found out that Mick Foley had never had a WrestleMania moment?
Yep.
So Edge actually went, I want to have a match with you because I want to give you a moment. And that's where that whole thing came from in the flaming table. And then I think we have to mention a couple other Taker matches because we've really focused on end of an era. But I think it's worth mentioning his match against Edge. His match against CM Punk, I think, is worth it. And also his match against Randy Orton, I think, also deserves to be there. Probably even Bray Wyatt, now that I look back on it. His match with Bray Wyatt was also, retrospectively, a really good match. But still not Mr. WrestleMania like Sean. Now that I think back on how many matches he's been in, I'm like, holy crap.
Ridiculous.
But like every single one of Sean's match. I mean, not saying the Undertakers were bad, but there was that period early on where it was, Gonzalez and Sid and stuff, where it was not quite as.
Yeah.
Sean was just banger every time.
Banger every time. If
why he
Sean's
was
name
Mr.
was in there.
WrestleMania.
Yep.
All right, remind us of our choices, Dan, now that we've gone through the honourable mentions.
All right,
Because I
our
think we
draft.
probably could go more if we wanted to, but we'll be here
But
forever.
that's what WrestleMania season's about.
It's so exciting.
The fact that none of us picked Cody versus Roman at 2039 either, that's highly regarded as a very good match.
Did you really expect me to pick that?
Well, I mean, would you if Cody would have won, would you have picked it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It was a good
100%. I would have picked it.
All right.
If any of
are you
those
gonna pick it
if
when
any of
Cody
those
loses
Cody
again
Brock
this year?
matches were at a WrestleMania, I probably would have picked them.
Yeah, okay.
To be honest with you.
Look, they were
don't
good. I
start
don't
me.
think they stack up to many other.
I don't think they're
WrestleMania
as good as
matches.
Brock and Kurt. I think Brock Kurt was
Brock Kurt was great.
the best WrestleMania match he did.
I'm just going to sit here and cry.
Kurt and Shawn was great.
Yeah, nothing from Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar though.
Funny
They were
that.
pretty terrible. All right, Ted.
Yep.
Your draft for the best WrestleMania matches of all time. You
Hit
have
me, baby.
Undertaker
One more
versus
time.
Shawn Michaels at
Michaels.
WrestleMania 25.
Shawn Michaels.
You have Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton versus Batista at WrestleMania 30. Mm-hmm. You have Gunther versus Drew versus Sheamus at 39.
Yep.
You have The Rock versus Hogan at WrestleMania 18 in the Icon versus Icon match.
Yep.
And Undertaker versus AJ Styles in WrestleMania 36 in the Boneyard match.
Good picks.
Reese, you drafted the Dudleys versus Hardys versus Edge and Christian at WrestleMania X7 in the TLC match for the tag
that's a
team
good
titles.
choice.
That's strong.
You have KO and Sammy versus the Usos at WrestleMania 39.
It looks a bit of the theme of
Two
tag
tag
teams.
matches there. Yeah.
Rock and Stone Cold, WrestleMania 19, or the return of Hollywood Rock. Rhea versus Charlotte, WrestleMania 39. And the Kane versus Raven versus Big Show hardcore match at WrestleMania X7. And my five, starting off with a classic in Bret Hart versus Stone Cold at WrestleMania 13. Undertaker versus Triple H Hell in a Cell end of an era match, WrestleMania 28. The Rock versus Stone Cold with the Limp Bizkit promo at WrestleMania X7. Money in the Bank, WrestleMania 21. The start of the Ultimate Opportunist Edge. And the Firefly Funhouse match between John Cena and Bray Wyatt.
Decent lists.
Good list.
I think it's hard to pick
Yeah.
a winner, to be honest with you, out of those three lists. I find because all three lists I think have
It's
bloody good matches. Like that's really
Taker
tough.
at 25.
That is the
Look,
best
that's
match.
that's number one. That's
Yeah.
100% number one. I don't think but I think if you take the list as a whole, you've got a bloody good mix of matches. He's got a bloody good mix of matches that make up for the fact that you don't have WrestleMania 25 Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. So, but I like the fact that we do have a pretty big mix because I think we said this before we came on. There was a period there, sort of early WrestleMania 30.
There's not much between 30 and 39.
No, it got a bit, a little bit repetitive, shall we say?
But there's also not a lot really between,
That was
apart
the-
from Undertaker,
That was the
between 20
beginning
and
of
30.
Roman main eventing.
yes,
So it's kind of
Yes.
like
Brock versus
That was
Roman 50.
that was the spectacle every year. It's just, but
Look, good list, guys.
Yeah.
I think they all deserve to be there for their own reasons. I'm not too upset with the order they went in either. I think, there was a couple that surprised me a little bit, but they all deserve to be there.
this is also subjective, people.
Of course.
If you
This is
have
our
any
picks.
issues, put your own list below in the comments. Let us know what you would have chosen for your top 5 matches.
And let us know who
100%.
wins out of this draft. Who picked the best.
It's going to be tough. That's going to be tough.
Man, there are some good matches. I'm sure I would throw a lot of people away from picking me because of that hardcore match, but that's really sentimental to me.
I
Yeah,
love
I
that
agree.
match too, though,
So-
man. I had that on my
It's
list.
such a good
I had that
hardcore
on my
match,
list.
dude.
So as Reece said, let us know what your choices were. If there's any we haven't mentioned somehow, I'm sure there's probably one somewhere we haven't
There'll be a
mentioned.
couple with
I'm sure we'll get some older
I mean, the
people talk
heist
about
of the century.
I'm surprised I didn't pick that.
Yeah.
True, actually. It
But,
didn't
like-
make the
Pretty big
list.
moment.
I think that's a singular moment. I wouldn't class that as like a WrestleMania match. That's just a moment
Yeah,
that happened.
that's
Like
true.
it was a match, but like
That's why I kind of thought of it as like the match itself. It was
fine.
The moment
yeah,
made
it was
better.
just like
yeah.
it was okay. Like you had Brock get put into the post. He busted himself open the hard way. From there, that's when it got good. But there was that first half of the match.
Yeah,
where it was just like, okay, Brock was just dominating like he always does.
Thanks for joining us for another draft here at Down Under the Mat. That was our best WrestleMania matches of all time. It's WrestleMania season. The countdown's on. So look out for some more drafts.
2 weeks to the day.
2 weeks. We'll see you there, guys. Down on the Mat podcast. Too sweet, baby!